Hi guys, this is GM the Life Coach. So this is part one of a journey, our first season 2 journey. This is from a woman named Lucy who I used to work with. Great lady. She's just a phenomenal person. She's achieved so much. And we're going to get into who she is and how she came to be the great person she is now. So listen guys, enjoy the interview, enjoy the audio, and we'll be back with part 2 of this video in a couple of days' time. It's GM the Life Coach. GM the Life Coach. Hi guys, this is GM the Life Coach. This session is with a good friend of mine who I used to work with, don't work with her anymore, but I used to work with her. And she's an amazing woman who hopefully I can get on the podcast regular. I'll have to bribe her, give her some money or something, I don't know. I'd like to introduce you to Lucy. Say hello, Lucy.
Hello. Hi, Gavin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
I know you
all
need
right.
to guide me as food, not money.
Food.
Yeah, food. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Any particular food?
No, pretty easy. I have a wide palate. I'll eat a lot of things.
Right. Okay. Remember that, man. I'll be taking you Nando, so we're good with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So my podcast is all about journeys and just life in general, and you know, on our journeys, there's so many life learning parts that we have as we're going through our journeys. And one of the things that I want to do for my podcast in season 2 especially is talk a lot about our own personal things that we've gone through and make sure that other people can learn from that. And when I was doing that in the audio version, or doing it again in the audio one now,
Yeah.
but, it's good to just kind of have different people talking about that, because so many people have learned from those podcasts that I've already done before. So first of all, let's go back. Let's talk about you growing up, because you're not from this place, the UK. Where are you from?
No, I am originally I was born in Kenya. I come here when I was about 7 or 8. Yeah, born in Kenya, raised a bit in Kenya. Speak 2 languages, well 3, including English.
You speak 3 languages?
So Swahili, Kikuyu, and English.
Wow.
Yeah, but Swahili and Kikuyu is like my tribe language, and it's like my mother tongue. And Swahili is just like a language that most people in East Africa will probably speak. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what was it like then coming over here?
Different. I remember writing an essay about my journey, and it was this idea that we all have, you know, the land of milk and honey and everything great and nothing could go wrong, and you'll have all these opportunities to get your education, you know, get your money up, get your life sorted, all that good stuff, you're sold, you know. Then you get here and yeah, it's not really what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, they lied.
My first experience with school was being bullied for my accent. I remember that because as soon as I touched down at school, I remember and this is in Swindon, and I said to myself, okay, I don't want to stick out like a sore thumb, you know, I don't want to be seen so different to everyone else. So I kind of learned how to kill my accent straight away.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it didn't take me that long to kind of manage, because I already spoke English. It was just that, you know, fresh off the plane, fresh off the boat.
Yeah.
You know, the accent was strong, still very strong, but yeah, managed to do that. That was my first time, I guess, in my head of me having to really think about how I want to navigate living in this country as an immigrant, I guess, you know. And it's funny because I know I'm an immigrant, now, and I'm aware of it, and I've always been aware of it. But at that point, you don't see yourself like that as a child, anyways. So yeah, but I didn't even think of it as a bad thing. I thought it was an amazing thing, and it's funny because as soon as I do say to people, "Oh no, I wasn't born here," "Oh, but your English is so good." Oh, thanks. Well, I've done it on purpose, but now I kind of regret it. Once I grew up a bit and found the revolutionary in me, I was kind of angry at myself for assimilating, but you know, we do what we can for survival. I guess that's what the point is. That was my first lesson in surviving what Britain actually really is and the reality of it.
The life coach. So did you must encounter lots of like racism and people just being weird with you? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, having to be hard all the time, having to fight all the time, just always being ready to protect yourself and stand up for yourself all the time. That's all I remember a lot of. Yeah, I didn't have the capacity to be kind, be nice, make friends, you know, be social and be bubbly and happy. And like I always have to be on guard, like, okay, this person wants to be my friend, but why? What's going on here? What do they, you know, because there was always some kind of agenda or some kind of underlying things that I think I picked up on really early. Like, I think I was really in tune with racism and how it worked on a interpersonal level, you know? I picked up on it really quickly, and that put me really on guard. And it wasn't just the racism from white people, it was the anti-blackness from black people as well.
Oh wow. That
also really kind of doubled down on that racism kind of. So now it's like you're not only protecting yourself from the white, hold on, sorry, 1 second. Do apologize.
Yeah, she's just got to deal with the noise in the background. It's all good.
Sorry, busy household.
It's okay.
Forgot to put the sign on the door. But yeah, sorry.
It's all right.
Yeah, so
racism,
anti-blackness really doubled down on the idea of what life was going to be like once again as an immigrant. And obviously being a lot older now, I completely get it. You know, the anti-blackness and the racism go hand in hand. It all works together. It all works to keep each other going. But at the time, as a young person, you know, grew up predominantly, obviously Kenya's a black country, so predominantly with black people. So the idea of black people mistreating me wasn't something that I even considered, you know, or even thought was a thing. Like, I didn't even think that, like, you know, you see things like maybe colorism in Kenya and stuff like that, or tribalism. So like, depending on what your, and not even tribalism as well, based on your ethnicity or what ethnicity you belong to, then, you know, there'll be stereotypes based around that kind of stuff. So I was aware of that kind of stuff to some degree, but not the kind of anti-blackness that is here, that stems from having to cater to the white gaze or trying to get closer to power, which is whiteness, you know. And we're all kids basically on a playground, so of course we're gonna just try to assimilate whatever feels powerful and strong and good and validates our existence as people, as community, as groups, because we all want to exist within groups, don't we? Nobody wants to not belong. Everybody wants to belong. And obviously being older, I understand that now, but yeah, when I was younger, I didn't. So I was very angry.
I can imagine.
Very angry, yeah. But within that, I was still very, I guess, resilient, you know? That anger afforded me a lot of resilience that I don't think I would have had if I was a bit more placid and tolerated or was content with certain things, you know? That anger gave me the space to demand more and demand better, even if it meant that I wasn't very liked or people didn't really want to hang out with me like that. You know, there was people who respected me always. I guess that's how I kind of found my power back, and till this day I will die saying I would rather have respect than anything else, you know.
Yeah,
I
totally
don't,
understand that.
yeah, I don't want people to fear me or I don't care if you like me or any of that, but I demand respect.
Mm.
And I guess that's something else that was a bit of a strength that I got from dealing with the racism in this country.
Wow.
But outside of that, I mean, it's not all been bad, you know. It's not all being terrible. It's just being life lessons. Got an
So
education.
you, so
Go on.
you being angry.
Yeah.
How did you, as you grew up, how did you deal with that, or did you deal with it?
Yeah, I did. I projected it onto everything and everyone else as a child would. You know, like I said, never really paid attention in school. I would go and act up. I would be involved in fights. You know, I wasn't the kind of person that would speak. If I hear someone say something about me, I'd say, okay, bet. And the next day, I'd go up to them and we'd fight. And we'd get it out the way, whether I lose or win, which didn't lose often.
Rocky
Yeah,
boy.
I could take a beating. But yeah, just get it out the way and deal with it. I was never the type of person that wanted to go back and forth and back and forth. And luckily, I don't know, that there wasn't many people that tried me after a while, especially once you've had a couple of fights with boys who are twice your size
Mm.
and all that good stuff. But yeah, I was just angry. And I projected it to everything else and everyone else. I like the moment I felt slight, you know, like pain or hurt or, you know, loss or anything, it just everything got turned into anger because that was the only emotion that I could openly and outwardly express at that time, or even understand to process. Yeah, it didn't help.
Was there anybody to go to, like, at home where you could talk to them about your anger, or friends and stuff? Or
I guess to some degree, yeah. I had friends that probably just as angry as me, so kind of probably added fuel to fire for each other. But at the same time, some of those friendships till this day I still have, because, you know, we looked out for each other. It was, you know, them seeing me caught up in something and coming, not even knowing who I am, and coming and just being like, no, what are you doing? Why are you and then we start talking from there and built a beautiful relationship and a friendship where we look out for each other and no one could ever bully us and talk to us sideways because we've got each other's backs, you know. So there was that side of it where it helped me learn how to build relationships out of what we did have, or what I did have, you know, outside of what I couldn't do socially. I could build relationship based on the fact that, you know, we have each other's backs. But yeah, outside of that, it was, I don't want to talk about it like I'm glorifying it, and that's why I'm very careful about how I speak.
I can hear you thinking about it.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's my personal experience, but I'm very aware as well at the same time that I'm not trying to make it sound like it was this amazing and great thing. But at that time, let me say, as a young person, I didn't see the negatives in it. I didn't see the bad things in it. I didn't think it was a bad thing. You couldn't convince me that me standing up for myself or protecting myself in my head, which is what I believed I was doing at the time, or building relationships off the fact that, you know, we're all going to look out for each other, we're all going to have each other's back, would be superficial. Those are not the kind of relationships you want. Those are not the kind of friendships you want. You know, you want friends that, you know, you go out with and you do things with. Well, no, actually, I could go out with them and do things and know that if something pops off, we all know how to fight. We all know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
I guess that's also a strength within itself, right?
Totally.
And it kept us safe. And yeah, I mean, you would never catch me dead now, ever. Like, even when I'm speaking to people, like, the idea of violence now, I'm like, yeah, but why do you need to put your hands on somebody? Just have a conversation, just talk it out. Like, that would never even cross my mind. But that has taken years and years of reprogramming.
Yeah.
me understanding actually that's a very, very can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear, you can swear.
Yeah, that's a very fucked up way of dealing with things. That every time you're annoyed or frustrated, you hit somebody, or because you don't like what somebody said, or regardless of how bad it is, or whether it is racism or bigotry or whatever it is. Why do you think you have a right to put your hands on somebody because you believe they're wrong? Idea. Yeah. So yeah, I've completely done a 360 on that one. I generally, I don't even believe in hitting your children for discipline and those kind of things. I don't believe in punishment. I don't even believe in prisons and things like that, because I just think all of it is very violent, and a lot of things are really violent. And I know that physical violence is also violence, but I think it's the least worrying type of violence for me when I think of the violence we face every day in this world, And I guess my physical violence was my expression of the violence I was facing every day as a young black girl immigrant. And back then, being African and dark-skinned was not cute either.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Cute.
Yeah, the light-skinned ones, all in fashion. Yeah, we know. It goes in circles, so good.
Yeah, exactly that.
So how were you academically then? So you had all this stuff going on.
Do you know what? At school, I don't think anyone ever picked up on my potential. Only a few teachers, and I think they would be like the English teachers or like humanities teachers, where we are talking about social issue or history or religious education. Those are the kind of places where, for me, I saw myself actually trying to learn outside of the classroom, taking it upon myself. I remember getting Of Mice and Men and reading that in a day, and being so fascinated by this story and going back and talking to the teacher every week. And I wrote so many amazing essays from it. And the teacher was flabbergasted, absolutely shocked, because they've never seen me even try in class. I mean, I do apologise. Someone decided they wanted to start moving stuff at this time of night, because that's a great idea.
It's not my work, is it?
Yeah, I don't think... Well, yeah, the English teachers was really impressed with my work Of Mice and Men and my essays, and he was sort of like, where did you learn to write like this? You're like, what do you mean? Like, I just wrote it. Like, the questions are there. So I just wrote the answer. And he was like, oh, wow, your writing's really amazing. And that's the first time I think I ever kind of had an inkling that I wasn't as stupid as I wanted to be, or as I wanted to play that I was.
Yeah.
Because I was not a serious person in school. Not once in my life. I think I got very serious after school when I realised that I had to look after myself. I think obviously there was a period of my life where I was in foster care from when I was about 10 all up until I was about 16. So in and out different foster homes. I don't know how many different foster homes I went through, but eventually I got private fostered in Reading, and I kind of settled, but still wasn't settled, because it still wasn't, me living at home with my family. I was still just a extra person in somebody else's house until I wasn't their problem anymore. It was how I guess I was treated the last few years when I was staying at the private foster home, where I realised that if I'm not careful, then I'm going to be left behind, and I'm not going to have anyone to look out for me like that.
How old were you then?
I would have been about 14 or 15.
Okay.
That's when I started thinking gears up, and that's when I was kind of grateful that I did have mentors who had been around me and trying to help me and talk to me. But like I said, I didn't care. I wasn't interested. I was being a kid just trying to survive the environment I was in at that time. And outside of like getting up and getting on with the day, I didn't see a past today or tomorrow, do you know what I mean? Or the weekend when I'm going to the park to get drunk with my friends. Like, that was the most planning I did. But I'm grateful for those people that kind of still stayed around and hovered and kind of made their presence known, that when I was ready, when I did want to, they was able to tap into that, I guess, ability that I wasn't aware of. But school was really hard. And now I think about it, because the difference between school and uni and how well I did at uni, because I went to uni, got my degree, first class honours, one of the top students in the class, like, you know, done so well that I even shocked myself. Do you know what I mean? So to see that difference, I know that I always had that ability. I just didn't know how to tap into it, or have the environment or time or space to do that. Because the only reason I was able to do that was because I had my own place. I was in by myself. I was able to work. I had my son, so I was a lot more focused and structured, and I was more interested in learning and being better and growing, especially as a youth worker, than anything else. So that gave me the capacity to be able to go and learn. But before, when you're just trying to survive and get through the day and just get through now, you know, you're not going to have the capacity to go to school and learn. That's going to be like the last thing you want to do, because the first thing you want to do is feel better about your life and want better for your life, for you to even do better for your life, you know? But yeah, academically I didn't do well at school. But I don't think school kind of gives room for anyone who isn't in a safe and loving situation with their home life to do well and excel. You know, if you've got anything from being neurodivergent, or from being a different race, or learning different, or just having individual needs, you're going to struggle in school. School's not for that. So it kind of makes sense why I've struggled in school, you know? Yeah.
So let's talk about this uni life then. So you studied what?
Community development and youth work.
All right. And why did you choose that?
Because I was already doing youth work. Luckily, like I said, when I was about 17 or 16, James Pyle, big up James Pyle, one of the best youth workers and best mentors and just best human being I actually know in Reading. He put me on. I think he saw my abilities from a very young age, because I've known him since I was about 13. And, you know, he's like that youth worker that everyone in Reading knows. Everyone knows this man. Can't go anywhere without talking. And he tries and he would constantly tell you, no, you're better than this. I know you're smart. You're so intense. And he would tell you these things and speak this greatness into you all the time. And we're like, oh, James, man. Look, we're drunk. It's Friday night. Pass the biscuits and tea. Or don't. We was not interested in what he had to say, but the opportunities he gave me once I wanted to do better for myself, literally from me just going to the courses or youth club and me organising my friends and be like, right guys, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, these are the tasks, James said this. From that, he was like, right, you could be a young leader. I was like, oh, I like that. I like this kind of that. It's like, I get to boss them around. He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, fantastic. I can do that. I can boss people around. And it's just little things how he allowed me to figure it out in my own pace, in my own way, in a safe space where he gave me the room to learn actively and participate in it. Not just the idea, a theory. It was a practical learning experience that was happening live, and it wasn't like structured plan or ideas that we had. It was something that just come naturally, and he encouraged that and he pushed that and he gave me room for that. And from that, I worked with somebody else, John Salesman, who's passed away last year, God bless her as well. He was an amazing person as well. He gave me an opportunity. He gave me my first proper job where I got a proper paycheck and everything. And that was doing youth work as well, and a bit of stage management as well. There was just so many roles I was able to do and develop in ways that that these two men gave me opportunity. So once I realised how good I was at that, I said, wow, I actually want to be better at this. Because, you know, I had natural talents where I was able to work with people, but then I didn't really understand the concept of how I could help people, whether that was real practice or a real career or anything like that. So as soon as I had community development and youth work, I was like, yeah. Like, you know, just working with community and young people and just getting better at being that, then yeah, sign me up. Where do I sign? And I signed up, and I think that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, because that course changed me, and not just professionally. I think it changed me more personally, which then changes me professionally.
Yeah.
And even, and this is what I mean, the transition. So I remember one of the first seminars we had, and we was talking about youth clubs, and, you know, at this point there was another student, white student, who made a comment about, but that, you know, we was talking about separate provisions and whether there should be separate provision where young black people have their own sessions, young white people have their own, or boys have their own, girls have their own. And that idea for me has always felt really comfortable. So I was like, yeah, definitely, why not? Like, yeah. Like, sometimes I don't want to be in a room full of men talking about certain things. I want to be with just the girls. Or if I'm with just my black girls, then there's certain things we can talk about that we can't really talk about if we was also in the space of white women, because we would have to be aware of that. And she made some type of comment about, but there are youth clubs and community centres, so why do you get to have sessions there? And my first question was, what do you mean by our? Because I know you ain't including me and my black self in that.
Yeah.
And I was so hot. And I remember sitting in that cinema, I was like, I just want to come across the room and punch you in your mouth. And I said that in the seminar, and I'm at uni. And it wasn't until one of my tutors pulled me to the side and was like, Lucy, and it's so funny because bless Bao, he's he's an Asian guy, but politically he says he's black because he's all for the anti-oppression and all of that stuff, but love the guy. And he sat me down and he's talking and he's trying not to laugh because he's like, Lucy, you know you can't do that. I'm like, why not? I was completely mind boggled at, what do you mean? I can't say it. I do want to go across the room and punch you. What do you mean? I didn't do it. He's like, yeah, but you can't say that. That's threatening someone. I was like, yeah, but I didn't do it. And it was when he had to give me a warning and be like, I'm so sorry, Lucy. Like, I do have to give you a warning because we can't have other students feeling unsafe in the room with you.
Yeah, you can't intimidate people, all right?
Yeah, and think that's okay. That's the way to have conversations because you don't like what people are saying. And this is the kind of train wreck I was going into this course. That should highlight how much growth happened within those 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I remember that clearly as day. But that was, I think, the last time I ever sent a threat in public. I'm very proud of that moment because it brought a lot of growth. It was hard, don't get me wrong. I was sulking for about a month. about it because I felt like I was wronged. So I'm like, no, I'm sticking up for myself. How dare you tell me I'm not allowed to, or I'm sending threats and making them feel uncomfortable. She said something racist. Like, I'm allowed to call that shit out.
Yeah.
It wasn't until, you know, you go through the course and they chip you down and chip you down and chip you down and get you to think about, where did this come from? Why are you moving like that? Why do you think like that? Why do you act like that? Why do you behave like that? Where's that coming from? And you really start to look at yourself as an individual and chip away at all those parts. You start to understand that actually I can call it out. I can call it out very articulately when I'm ready to, and have those conversations and make them aware of how that can come across to somebody who doesn't match the group you belong to, type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I learned that over the years, but it took me a while to get there. But yeah, uni was probably the best experience I had from my personal and professional development, and my practice is unmatched. And I will say it's because the course was mainly based around anti-oppression practice, so anti-oppressive practice. And I like the idea of anti-oppressive practice, because it doesn't just look at one thing, you know. I know now we have this idea of trauma informed, but I think that's
the
just
life
a word
coach.
that's just been coined to
Well,
sort of
well, well. For those who aren't educated, what does trauma informed mean?
trauma informed. So working in a trauma informed way means, you know, being aware of, I guess, the societal implications that people have to everyday life and what that looks like, you know, whether that's whether that's with, you know, it could be housing, education, crime, health, it could be anything that you have to take an awareness of. There's different forms of trauma that people go through all the time, and yeah, when you are working with them, that has to be at the front of your mind, because they're not gonna respond the same way to somebody else.
And if you have a reaction, that it's not to take it personal, or they're trying to, you know, put wedges in it. It's just their trauma that's informing that.
Yeah, and understanding that their capabilities and their understanding and their perception is not yours, and that's okay to work from their point of view. I think for me personally, that's what trauma informed should mean. Hence why I'm like, it was coined, because anti-oppressive practice is a practice Black, African and Caribbean communities have been practicing for centuries in this country as well, for years. If you look at the community work and the grassroots and the history, and even things like, you know, just the community things that we've done for each other over the years, how we've supported each other, works from an anti-oppressive place, and it does that very easily and naturally without trying to. I think trauma informed is just another shiny word that they just throw out there. You know, they come up with all these words that we use in academia and professionalism that don't relate back or
to actual practice.
Yeah, and what's actually happening on the ground to these communities they're actually working with. That doesn't, you know, me talking about, for example, county lines and grooming. I can't go to a young person and be like, county lines and grooming. They're going to be like, what the hell are you talking? That doesn't translate to us. We're living everyday life, Luce. What do you mean? What are you saying? But it's like, say, you know, when you got on the train and you went up the road and you took that Z to that man, yeah, you know that they're going to see that as trafficking, right? They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. So we start speaking the same kind of language where I'm helping them understand when people use this word, this is what they mean. So if you hear me use this word professionally, this is what I mean. But I know this is what the reality of what your life is, and I understand that, you know? But I don't think a lot of it translates, and I don't think it's also necessary to actually do the work. I think it just gives somebody else an opportunity to shine because they coined a nice new word, and I'm all here for that. I think it's all great, I guess, in theory-wise, having so much theory to work with and stuff to work with, but I'm also
it's for those people who haven't lived in that sort of trauma environment.
Exactly.
For them to kind of, it's to remind them about how the way they should go about their practice. You know what I mean? Certain communities haven't really, always, you know?
That's always dangerous, just because if you don't understand the reality of the community you're working with, having some kind of understanding because of a theory will always limit the kind of radical change that you want to create within those communities' lives. You won't create the radical change that those communities need to thrive. You will give a plaster over the issues, and the next person will bring a plaster as well, and a plaster, and it's all nice because for that time it soothes the wound, and it allows those people to kind of move slowly and, you know, have little changes and make small changes, which are just as important. But I'm very big on us as practitioners trying to make radical change and allowing people to find ways to make those small changes themselves. But if we're going to come on the scene as professionals, we need to make radical change, because otherwise, what is the point? The community, there's people already doing this work within their community, there's people already helping them, so should we not then just arm them to do the job properly then, if we know we don't have the capacity to actually make those real radical changes?
Yeah, that's true. That's
Now,
true.
it's exhausting. Like when you are constantly working with these communities and they're like, they don't care. And you know that. And because they will give you the examples of experiences time and time and time again. And what are you supposed to say at that point? Because it's true. To some degree, it's a job. We go do it. But we go home. We've got our families. Not saying no one's got issues or no problems at home or whatnot. But, you know, we do our job. We go home. And they're still there. They're still in it. But we expect them to then take on what we're saying because we're professionals and we're here to help you and we know what's right for you.
Life coach.
But you got to live that life every single day and do that every single day. While I just get... Go on.
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, while I just get to write up notes about it and come up with different ways to analyse and observe it, you know?
No, I was just thinking while he's talking. So us as a community, our community, what do you feel we need to do to kind of help our understanding of trauma for ourselves? As us as a community, we've been through a lot of trauma. So what do you think we need to do?
I think it's really good the age that we're living in now. I think we've done a really good job of labouring and naming our traumas now than we did before. Before it was, you know, always seen as, oh, you know, that's just how they are, you know, they're just a bit different than everybody else. It would never be like, oh, they have autism or they have ADHD, or it was, oh no, you know, they just don't like that stuff, so you can't really do that. So now we're getting really good at naming those things and getting diagnosed and going out there and talking about it. Like I still have to watch it, but Conan has done a documentary with Channel 4, I think, about mental health, obviously, but he speaks about his diagnosis of PTSD. And it's things like that that make me really, really just joyful on the inside and proud because, you know, black men... GM, the life coach.